Hello and welcome to the CEO Corner segment at Akari Therapeutics. I'm Abizer Gaslightwala, CEO and President of Akari Therapeutics, and I'm here to give you an overview of how we ended up 2025 for our current shareholders and our future shareholders as well. I'm really excited to walk through the different areas of progress we've made as a company since the close of the merger end of 24 in terms of our mission to be an oncology ADC company. We have an opportunity to transform oncology ADC therapeutics. I'm going to walk you through some of the milestones that we actually hit this year and how that sets us up for 2026 to be a potentially transformative year. So let me talk about 2025 and how we built on our strong foundation and our platform of novel payloads to make next generation ADCs. So as you're aware, we have a novel splicing modulating payload, PH1, that we've been developing for years and that Akari acquired. Now is the idea of how do we actually take that forward and build on the strong science that was there. As a reminder, our payload does two things. It has a 1-2 punch. It's cytotoxic, which means it kills the cancer cells, but importantly, it's immune activating. And we know the immune system is the most powerful way to attack cancer. So we believe our payload is novel, it's differentiated, and has an opportunity to create longer and longer duration activity and efficacy for patients in the future, potentially. So how do we actually forward this payload forward? What are the steps we're taking? Well, let's talk about our lead ADC, AKTX-101. This is a TROP2-directed ADC. It's in late-stage preclinical development, and we're excited about that we continue to evolve the data set, both on this TROP2 ADC and the payload itself in terms of its potential. We had a strong set of preclinical data in urothelial or bladder cancer, as well as gastric cancer, where we showed how this TROP2 ADC has a chance to be the potentially best-in-class TROP2 ADC out there because of the payload. But we built on that in terms of bringing the data and the potential of our payload. We released some data early in this year to talk about the effect of our payload in what we call splice-driven tumors, notably prostate cancer, with some really compelling data. And we recently followed up with some data that showed our TROP2 ADC has the potential to attack one of the most difficult and impossible mutations to date called KRAS. KRAS is a mutant oncogenic driver in cancers such as colon, pancreatic, and lung. And we had some really compelling data that we recently released that showed our efficacy in preclinical models in pancreatic KRAS-driven tumors. So this ultimately means we feel even more convicted in the power of AKTX-101 in terms of the payload, its potential in many solid tumors, and in particular, some of the most difficult solid tumors that are not addressed today with current therapies or by the current TROP2 ADCs out there today. So now that we build on this strong preclinical data that continues to show the power of our payload and our TROP2 ADC, we're advancing rapidly to complete the final studies needed to enter clinical studies. First, we will be doing additional non-clinical work that builds on the initial safety data we've seen that looks very promising, that shows our ADC and our payload as a differentiated safety profile relative to other payloads you see on other ADCs. In addition, as we recently announced, we're moving forward with GMP grade manufacturing of our ADC AKTX-101. This is an important seminal step to enter clinical studies, to be able to show we can create a high quality product in an ADC that can be used in clinical studies and human trials. And we're excited that we announced that we're doing this in partnership with one of the global leaders in the world, WuXi XDC, WuXi Biologics. This is a high quality contract manufacturer that has developed many ADCs for many companies that are currently approved or in development, and they are now working with Akari on this novel payload and this novel ADC that we're bringing forward. So building on the great momentum and data that we had in 2025, now we're advancing AKTX-101 to the clinic as fast as we can. What that means is we will start non-clinical studies that build on the strong safety data we've seen in preclinical animals. That will complete our safety package. In addition, we have now announced that we will be initiating large-scale GMP manufacturing activities with a global leader in contract manufacturing for ADCs. This is critically important as we have to get to the clinic to have a high-quality GMP-grade product to dose in clinical patients. We will be announcing more details around this exciting partnership that we developed with this contract manufacturer in the future, so stay tuned. but it gives us great confidence and conviction that we have such a high quality player working with Akari to move this product to clinical studies. Let me also talk about the significant progress we're making around our intellectual property and scientific engagement around our novel payload. We're excited in the productivity we've had around developing new intellectual property on our payload in 2025. We are filing 4 provisional patents just in this year that build on the additional patents already filed around the payload and AKTX 101. This is tremendous productivity in terms of the innovation we're creating around a novel payload, as we have with PH1. In addition, we're creating scientific awareness and buzz around our data and our payload. This is witnessed by the recent presentation we had, the Society for Immunotherapy of Cancer, SITC, in early November. At this Congress, we were considered one of the top 150 submitted data pieces out of over 1,200. And we had both an oral presentation and a poster presentation at the most esteemed immuno-oncology research conference in the world. That was putting Akari on the map for novel payloads. And we followed that with formalizing and finalizing the building of our scientific advisory board across key researchers around the world in oncology, immuno-oncology research. We'll be announcing more details shortly in early 2026, but we're super excited to have the caliber of researchers working with Akari to guide this promising technology forward. I also want to acknowledge the strength we've had in our financial position and operating model. Since the merger and close of Akari and Peak, we've been able to make significant progress in terms of improving our balance sheet, reducing operating expenses, and allocating more of our dollars to R&D where it matters the most. Hence, you see the productivity in our IP filings that we had this year. In addition, we've been able to come up with an operating model that is streamlined and efficient, that enables us to leverage contract manufacturers, third-party vendors, et cetera, with a very flexible, light R&D model that has in-house as well as external capabilities that can act with speed and agility. I'm very excited about our ability to bring cash in through various parts of the time to fund these R&D innovations, our R&D model, and how we can expand rapidly into AKTX 101 clinical studies, hopefully in late 2026, early 2027. So now let me spend some time, now that we talked about 2025, why I'm excited about 2026 and why you should be as well as a shareholder. 2026 could be a transformational year for Akari. It can mark the moment when we as a biotech transition from a preclinical to a clinical company. That is something that does not happen often for most biotechs. And we'd be defying the odds if we did. And we have a great plan to get there. Part of it was what I just mentioned earlier, this contract manufacturing partnership with WuXi to help us create the GMP quality material for clinical trials. Again, we'll be continuing to march towards that path with interactions with regulators like the FDA and others to validate our initial thinking on our plan. We'll be presenting more data on our AKTX 101 that shows why it could be a best-in-class TROP2 ADC. And in addition, we'll continue to explore partnerships with pharmaceutical companies as we release more data, talk about our progress in the clinic that shows the power of this payload. So I'd like to close with a couple of comments and thoughts. First, just as a reminder, we are working in one of the hottest spaces in oncology right now, ADCs. What we are doing is building on that hotness and taking what's currently there and building in a transformational way with our payload. From the data I talked about, to the presentations we get, to the kind of advisors we're getting and partners are working with us. So this is an exciting upcoming year for 2026. We have an opportunity to become a clinical stage biotechnology company. We have an opportunity to put a novel payload into play, which doesn't happen often. And we have, importantly, an opportunity to transform potentially the standard of care for cancer patients, where we use the immune system to provide the most durable and long-lasting remissions if our potential payload works in the way we think. So I want to thank you, all of our shareholders, for your continued commitment, belief, and conviction in what we're doing in our Akari mission on oncology and novel payloads for next generation ADCs. We look forward to sharing more updates with you throughout 26, and thank you for your continued support.